This morning's guest had a vision of a presidential debate in Myrtle Beach. Find out what he did to help make it happen and what he's doing today to help the political process roll smoothly. You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Coastal Regional Outreach Center of the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. We're focused on running for office, and we're visiting with the chairman of the Horry County Republican Party, Robert Rabon. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
To wrap out the week, we've been here all week. What about the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind? Have you been in this Coastal Regional Outreach Center?
I had not before. I went several years ago to Alabama. It's really a quick story. I registered at NASCAR Cafe, and I won the 50th anniversary pace car of NASCAR.
Oh,
And the money, they sold 196,000 tickets, and the money went to the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind. Wow. So I went there, and I stayed at the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind, and I went up on Friday. Me and my son came back on Monday and went to the race at Talladega, and they took me down on pit row, and Ned Jarrett gave us the car in front of 210,000 people.
Come on,
Robert. Quite a visit.
That is amazing.
Awesome.
And of course, to have been there at the school, I'm sure you got a lot of the significance.
The people were fabulous. It was wonderful. And I'm sure they are here. I just hadn't had an opportunity to come before.
Oh, yeah. It is a magnificent facility. Of course, a lot happening now.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 weeks ago this upcoming Sunday, 2 weeks ago on the 30th, everything wrapped up for filing for office on both parties.
It did. State law has the primary set up for March 16th and March 30th, and so they ended on Sunday. It was odd they ended up on Sunday this year. Started on Sunday, end on Sunday, but we ended up with 40 candidates, and the Democrat Party had 8.
Wow. Yes. So. And that's for all the positions that are elected in the county that are just up for election this.
There was 23 offices open this year.
Right.
And that doesn't include Jackie Hayes, which is in House District 55. You have to vote. You have to register to file, and you're a resident county. Jackie lives in Dillon County, but the upper part of the state around Green Sea is part of the Horry County Legislative Delegation, and Ray Cleary, who lives in Georgetown County, covers the South Strand. And so, but they both had to file, one in Georgetown County, one in Dillon County. So if you added those two, we had a total, both parties had a total of 50 candidates file.
Wow.
It's awesome.
That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
sure is.
Yes. I mean, and is it good for the parties? You want people to file. You want folks to get out there. You want them to be contested seats, or do you normally want incumbents to maintain their position?
All incumbents will tell you they want to run unopposed because campaign is tough. It's hard work, and especially when you're in a primary, because it's compacted into a space of like 75 days. They have to get out and work. They have to get their message out, and the way the restrictions are now, you can't put signs out in the rural areas. So we're 45 days for election, which would be like April 26th, and you can't put signs in municipalities until 30 days before elections. To get your name recognition out, and so voter ID is a big thing. When an election, people vote for whom they know, and so building your name ID is really important.
Absolutely. Wow, Robert. Any surprises on that?
Leading
up to March 30th, leading up to that Sunday, anything that came out of the woodwork? Or?
Well, no, not really. Most of the candidates I'd heard from, I had on the last day. I had Howard Bond. He called me Saturday night, and he filed for Senate District 33. And David Cox walked in like 7, 8 minutes before 12 and decided he'd run for school board in District 9, and those were kind of surprised. But we had 4 file on the 30th, the last day. So, other than that, it was good.
Yeah.
We had a huge contingent of candidates and got a great group of candidates. Probably, and I've looked at them from top to bottom, they're as strong a group as we've ever had since I've been involved in the party.
Mm-hmm. The June primary will be held June 10th,
June the 10th, that's correct.
So less than 2 months from today.
That's correct.
Less than 2 months from today. A lot that has to happen. You said 45 days before June 10th, folks can begin getting signs out.
They can put their signs out in the county, and municipalities allow them 30 days before the election. So May 10th for the municipalities, and April 26th, I believe, for the county.
Okay, so a lot's going to be happening. A lot of signs will be popping up. Any overly heated candidacies or races that folks are expecting?
Just in my estimation, we're going to have several really heated. I think Senate District 33 with Luke Rankin, who is the incumbent, 16-year incumbent, and Liz Gillen, Chairman of County Council. And, of course, Howard's in the mix now. but that's going to be a pretty spirited race.
Right.
I think in the House race, 58 with Thad Byers and Stephen Neves and Helen Smith will be a very heated race.
Right.
And then remember Billy Witherspoon, he's our presently in House Seat 105. He chose to retire.
Yes.
And there's 4 candidates for that. And one of them is Kevin Hardy, who was also a county councilman for District 10 for 2 terms.
Right.
And so his seat will be vacant. And you have 4 candidates filed for that. So
wow.
Those are going to be pretty heated races. I think all of them will be. So.
You know, is Kevin the only Republican that's filed for Billy Witherspoon?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, George Hearn, Randy Alford, and Matt Bennett.
And they're all Republicans.
There's no Democrats filed that don't. The races that Democrats contested, County Council District 6,
right.
And they have 2 candidates filed for School Board District 9, and then 1 Senate race, and 1 House race,
right.
And that's it.
And then, obviously, for Congress, you've got a couple of Democrats out there. And you've got quite a few Republicans.
We do. I don't really, we don't handle that here. That's a state function,
okay.
the Congress and the Senate. And so I have enough to do with Horry County folks. So that's just
do those folks notify you, though, to let you know that, on the county side, ultimately, you want to get the word out for folks in...
Well, we have a really good website on the Horry County Republican Party, and so probably by tomorrow we'll have all our candidates up there, name, address, telephone numbers, and have email addresses.
Oh, yeah.
So persons who want to contact them, be easy access for them.
Right, and that's HorryCountyRepublicanParty.com.
That's
great.
Correct.
Okay, good. It is a...
There's a lot of information on it if anybody wants to read. Not just for Republicans, but
good.
Like who pays taxes, and if you want to get in contact with state offices, government entities, your state senators, your housemen, we're Democrat, Republican is there.
That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. So much has happened in the last 90 days, Robert. We think about the excitement. I got to say, we need to take it back to January 10th, and it wasn't just January 10th. I think you've been working on that thing for, was it a year and a half?
Actually,
give viewers a sense of what that's like. Of course, as you know, the bulk of our viewers are in the PD and southeastern North Carolina, but surely everyone nationwide was impacted by the significance of not only January 10th, but January 21st. But let's focus on January 10th, leading up to that.
Well, in August of 2006, I sort of had a brainstorm, I guess, and I thought, why don't we try to see if we can get a debate just before the Republican primary in South Carolina? And so when I called Scott Malrick, the Executive Vice President with the State Republican Party, and I asked him, he said, Robert, odd thing about it is several major networks called us today and said they were kind of thinking about it. And he said, you must have ESP. I said, I don't know about that, but anyway, I want us to have one, if we can have one, and I want it for Myrtle Beach. And then as I got through, I got told over and over and over, you can't have it in Myrtle Beach. You're 109th media market in the state. Greenville's 36th, and they poster child for the Republican Party, 70% voting Republican for years and years and years. Right. They're blue collar, and said, y'all live on the beach, and the people who don't think it's a ritzy place think it's Coney Island, with hot dogs and popcorn and Ferris wheels. And I said, and so what we had to do is reinvent the thing, and as we got started, and I talked back and forth to them, some of the delegation, particularly Liston helped me, and Alan Clemens, and some of the other members of the delegation. I don't want to miss anybody, but they were really instrumental talking with the State Republican Party too.
Great.
But then I went to Brad Dean and talked to Brad, and Brad started bringing the chamber in. And the chamber and Brad Dean and City of Myrtle Beach were just awesome.
Really?
They were wonderful.
Great to work with.
And then we had an idea about the national anthem. If you noticed, there's never been a national anthem sung on a debate before. They always just cut through. They might have it at a debate, but they typically don't have it on the news. And so Calvin Gilmore is just fabulous. He's just wonderful. He's been such an ambassador here. And so I had the idea of asking Calvin Gilmore, and so we managed to work it out with the news network to get him to come. And when they came, and as it all started falling together, we found out in August we were going to get it. Right. But what they did, they gave us a list, a punch list, for lack of a better way to put it. Steph, this has got to happen, like they didn't even think we'd do it. And then it got down to the night before the announcement, they called and said, we need to be able to move 4,000 motel rooms in 24 hours. Well, it would have it, Greenville only had 3,600. And I said, we have 88,000 rooms. We can do that without any problem. And Brad confirmed that we could do it in 24 hours. And then we had the last question they were asked, when was the last time planes that got snowed in on January 10th in Myrtle Beach? Never. We could find it. And it had several times in Greenville. So that was the last time. So just a little small stuff. Seems insignificant, but it was a big deal because you had to get there was a timing thing.
Oh, yeah.
And what's so great about it, the week of the Republican debate, they left New Hampshire. It was 9 degrees and snowing, and got here it was 75 degrees and sunshine. And the Fox crew that came in when they come in, it was like 50 of them, and only 1 out of the 50 had ever been to Myrtle Beach.
No.
They looked and said, they'd heard about it, and they just said, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Yeah. And they, at the end time, said it was the best debate they'd ever been associated with.
Oh, come on, Robert.
I was just awful. And I even told Brad and John Rose, I said, if you don't stop cleaning the convention center, you're going to wash all the paint off of it. Because it was just sparkling. It was absolutely wonderful. And it went off without a hitch. I mean, they were just amazed. And the day after the debate, January 10th, January 11th, Myrtle Beach had 30,000 inquiries that one day for vacation packages to come to Myrtle Beach.
Wow.
30,000.
Wow.
In one day. And their request, I saw an article the other day that their news release was up like, in that month of January, like 425% or something. It's just phenomenal. And so it had a huge impact. And what it did, though, when I went to and I don't want to ramble too much, you stop me.
Oh, absolutely. We've got time.
When we went to meet with the Chamber of Commerce to try to make our pitch, to ask them to help participate, and they were just absolutely wonderful. At that time, we didn't know whether we would get a Democrat or Republican. Right. And I told them, I said, look, and Sally Howard was there, and I said, if the Democrats get the debate and we don't get a Republican debate, I commit to you, I'll work as hard as I can to help them put on the greatest show that people have ever seen in America.
Right.
Because I want Myrtle Beach to be the litmus test. I want everybody in America, when they think of having a debate, they got to compare to Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And I said, I'll work as hard as I can, but I promise you, Sally, the day after the debates, I'll work to beat your brains out in November with my candidates, in a JS thing.
Oh, yeah.
But so, and we did, I think, and I didn't go to the Democrat debate. I didn't think it was my place. I shouldn't have done that. So, and I don't know how many Democrats, obviously they were welcome, but I don't think we could have put on a better show than what we did. The state Republican Party was just blown away. Fox was blown away about what was done, and it was a combined community effort. Everybody worked really hard on it. But if I had to single out one person in one group, Amy, who works with the chamber, and
Amy
Brad,
Lee.
Amy Lee, she was just fabulous. Her and the whole group. I hate to call a name because you might miss somebody.
No, sure.
But Brad and John Rose at the city of Myrtle Beach, all of the board members on the chamber was just wonderful.
A lot of volunteers,
both
party
over 1,000
volunteers. A lot of Democrats were out helping out the Republican event, much the same way, and I'm sure Sally and all the folks felt if the Democrats and the Congressional Black Caucus Institute can't make it happen here in Myrtle Beach, we'll wrap around and help the Republicans if they can get it.
Because to me, it was not about a Republican or Democrat.
Right.
Obviously, I'm chairman of the Republican Party, and that means the most to me.
Right.
But it was about our area. I mean, it was about jobs and letting people realize what a fabulous, wonderful place we have here. And to me, you cannot measure the advertising we got, because the day after the Republican Party debate, this is a newspaper here. This is called Top Fold for those who don't know.
Right, right.
The day after the Republican debate, there was 441 newspapers nationwide that had Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
I love it.
441 in 29 foreign countries. They give out 705 press passes for the Republican debate.
Right.
29 countries were represented, in addition to the United States, and every state in the union was represented here.
Wow.
So it was the amount of exposure we got. You can't measure it. I just don't have to. You can do a guesstimate of what you think it might be, or whatever it is. And I think some of the hits you get on the websites and different things kind of tells you, give you an idea where you heard from. But a friend of mine at the beach was on a cruise, and he was in Puerto Rico. No. And he got talking, and they were talking about, and happened to be when I was being interviewed, and he told me, Robert said, I know that guy, he's my friend.
Yeah.
And so, but it was just wonderful, and we had never had one in Low Country, South Carolina. Closest one I think was Charleston.
Is that right? That's right. They had the one down at the Citadel.
And so, but we were just not considered. But I tell you, Fox did say that when there's in 4 years now, it comes time around again, that Myrtle Beach will be one of the top on the list.
Really?
Sure. Yeah, they definitely want us to have another one here.
The litmus test worked.
That's right. So
that is tremendous.
Set the bar really high, and I feel like that I have not tried to get out and do anything. My biggest challenge was to get it here.
Right.
And I think after it was done, for us, the things on the beach and the chamber and stuff, the convention center, the city of Myrtle Beach and the chamber did it, and the volunteers. And so it was just a great effort from the community.
There were tons of volunteers, lots of great sponsors. Obviously, a lot of folks wrapping around at the city of Myrtle Beach. Folks, time after time, wrapping around both events.
They did. Unbelievable.
Clearly, it's much like candidates, and as we're about to talk about, what are some of the things viewers should look for in candidates? In the same way, seeing both parties working together with a city body, with the county, obviously the Horry County Republican and the Horry County Democratic Party, to see everyone working together with national networks, CNN, Fox News Channel, to see the excitement for those folks. But even more exciting, the candidates themselves. To think about those folks staying in our hotels, being there. We filmed during that week up at the Grand Dunes, the Marina Inn there, leading up to the Conway Medical Center Gala, and John McCain was staying there that night on Thursday the 10th, and to see the excitement of his entourage and himself just wrapping around our own hotels, it's a big deal. Kind of like where George Washington slept when you hear Rayford Vereen talking about the area. I mean, it's pretty exciting. What are some of the things that voters should look for in candidates, Robert, if they sit back and they're hearing lots of messages, whether on TV or seeing them in the newspapers or hearing them on the radio? What are some of the things that they should sit back and really help separate the issues there?
To me, the most important thing is a person's track record. Because typically, if a person has done something a certain way for a period of time, they'll continue to do it. And it's easy to get up and say, well, I've always done this, but I want to do it this way tomorrow or next week or next month. But if you go back and look, history usually repeats itself. And if you watch persons, because we are all creatures by nature. You know, we go to this grocery store every week. We go to that, drive this kind of automobile every week. So we get in the habit of doing things, and we're creatures by nature. So if you look at these candidates and what their track record says they'll do, and then look at their experience that they did, and then how they interact with other people, because you can be as smart and as good as you want to be, but if you can't get along with anybody, you can't do anything. You can't accomplish anything. So you know, have to their personality, their temperament is huge. If a person's got a really bad temper and they can't get along with anybody, they're not going to accomplish anything. So to me, their track record, their history of what they've done, their experience of what they, and the different things they've done, the diversity of them, and then the temperament and how they interact with other people, I think is really big.
Very important. You know, we highlight there are clearly candidates who come out of nowhere, whether it's folks who are running for the first time, John Edwards, running for U.S. Senate the first time, Mark Sanford, our now governor, who ran for Congress in his mid-30s with no experience. But for the most part, when you think about track record, oftentimes they start at a smaller position and then build up to running for a larger office, and you think that's important.
Well, you can look at civic organizations. If they've been involved in a civic organization, what they did, and then if they've worked on a planning and zoning commission or state housing or anything, the things they've done, and how they acted and reacted, and were they proactive? Did they work hard? Were they consistent? Did they attend like they're supposed to? You know, there's a number of things, but to me, their track record tells you more than anything else.
Right. Let's talk, one of the things that unfortunately a lot of folks focus on are negative campaigning and hearing a lot of issues. What are some of the things that are fair to get into, and what would be considered negative campaigning? What's borderline, Robert?
If it's all right, I'll use two candidates, for example. They're both high-profile candidates, and I don't think they would either one of mine. Okay, to me, like Luke Rankin, he is a senator. It's fair for him to look at Liz Gillen's record as chairman of the county council and her service on that, and show what she did. If he has to define himself, who he is and what his plans and what his vision for District 33 is, and he needs to look at what Liz has done. All right. By the same token, Liz should do that to him. What he's done in the 16 years in the Senate, what he's accomplished, what he hasn't accomplished. And so, to me, defining the other candidate is most important. And then, ultimately, when I see how Greg Everett looks and how Robert Rabon looks, then the differences. You know, how we, on taxes or immigration and stuff, how we differ, and let the people give the people a fair chance. To me, that's fair. That is not in no way negative. You say, well, if you're saying something about the other candidate, and it's not. If you define their record, because their record is public knowledge, it's perfect information. And unfortunately, the average person don't know all of what's going on. So if there's a track record from that, like I said before, their experience and the track record, and you can show that track record, it's fair game. It's not negative.
Right.
As long as it's truthful.
Yeah, what would be some of, I mean, so negative stuff would be going beyond that.
That's
going beyond the factual record.
Fabricating and doing innuendos and stuff. Because I had one candidate just yesterday, he said, I'm really good at arguing with people about things. I said, you don't get any votes like that. I said, to me, the people want somebody that's honest and truthful. And I said, whatever you do, when you say something about one of those opponents, if you intend to do that, make sure it's truthful, it's factual, and just don't fabricate. To me, that is just so wrong. When take things out of context and build something out of nothing. You know, to me, that's wrong.
Area media had covered a candidate who was potentially thinking of Senate District 33, who had said he was pulling off because something was going on behind the scenes. I think it was push polling or something to that effect. Well, those things come up.
And but now he was not the one who did it. He did not do it. One of the organizations kind of doesn't like the way this particular individual voted. And so what they were trying to do is it's called push polling. They get out and say negative things about it. Now, to me, that's just wrong. It's wrong. To me, I think each candidate should run on their own merits. If you won't vote for me because of who I am, that's okay. But that's fair. But I think you have a right to define the two candidates.
Absolutely, Robert. Let's think about how most candidates run their campaigns. If they're out of the gate for the first time, there's clearly stuff they've thought about. You know, can I afford to do this? Do I have the time? Can I do this to my family? I assume they've gone through those steps. So there's some basic steps they probably need to think about. But how do most candidates run their campaigns? Is there a common way that they go about doing it, or is there some guidance that you provide from the Horry County Republican Party?
Well, when somebody comes to me, calls me or whatever else, and I just kind of feel like it's my responsibility to tell them, if you're going to run for a county council seat, just a district county council, you're talking about anywhere from $40,000 to $75,000 to run that district. Right. If you're going to run a House seat, state average is $100,000 for a House seat. State average for a state Senate race is $250,000. And it's a full-time job. By the time you file for those roughly 75 days, you've got to go from 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, wherever you can find a voter. And a lot of them use a political consultant. And those political consultants will help them devise a plan. Because, see, one of the things about it, we have as a Republican Party, they paid like $25 million from voter vault. If you become a candidate, you go into voter vault, and you can tell who voted in the 2006, 2004, 2002, and 2000 Republican primaries. You pull those out, and if a person voted 4 times, chances are they'll vote. Right. If they voted 3 times, 75% of the time they'll vote. 50 times. Right. And if they hadn't voted, even if they're a registered voter, but they have never voted in 4 primaries in a Republican primary, you don't need to waste your time on it. So you need somebody that's a political consultant to help you put the plan together. And there's the voter vault puts together a walking list for you, so you can go to house. It'll tell you where to stop and where to not stop. Wow. Are the ones who voted. I mean, it's great. But those are the kind of things you have to do. You need a political consultant to have put it together. Do
all candidates seek out political consultants? Do you recommend that? Do they get do they get consultants from Columbia here locally? Do they go to Washington, D.C.?
Well, we have a couple here locally, and there's quite a few in Columbia. And most candidates, especially if they're running for a House seat or a Senate seat or a county council seat, and they don't really know what to do. And if you don't know, and you got some stiff opposition, you want to be a player, you need to do that.
We've just got a couple of minutes, Robert. Let's think. You highlighted one district. You want to highlight a little bit about where candidates stand on issues such as taxes, jobs, immigration, possibly. Just yesterday, we had a fascinating couple in, a bilingual couple, and they highlighted that aspect there for their own church about clearly there is illegal immigration is an issue, and working to make sure that immigrants actually get their U.S. citizenship.
Well, there's a lot of folks that don't have a job because things have slowed down, the economy's slowed down, and then when they see somebody who is, quote unquote, a legal alien here, as they're referred to, and they're working, it's really hard for them to take. So I think immigration is always a hotly contested. And you need to know about if a person's like a county council, for example, how they feel on impact fees, because the impact fees, sometimes people get the opinion it's just going to be on people moving into areas. But if you got 10 acres of land, you cut your lots, they cut it 10 lots and give it to your 10 children, and all 10 are going to build a house, they all have to pay the impact fee. Right. Locals have to pay as well as the others. So, and so you need to understand that. You need to understand where everybody stands on each issue. And so there's a multitude of issues, and I recommend going to the candidate's website, go into political rallies if they have a block party, go and ask a lot of questions. If they send out media mailings to you, do it, go on their line, on a website if they have one, and just really educate yourself, because it's really important to look at what their track record is, their experience, and how they feel about things and how they interact and work with other people. It's huge.
That simple question about how can folks be more educated about candidates, it is most candidates have websites, most candidates are available, are they out public speaking? Is it are there special ways to go about being more educated?
A lot of them
call your office even.
They do. Right. And go on our website, Horry County Republican Party website, and we try to post as many events as we can. Like we having a candidates night on May 5th at the Peanut Warehouse that night, and all the candidates from the 40-plus candidates will be there. Right. And the congress and senators, some of those will be there. We're going to have free food. We're going to have music. And it's ironic, I didn't realize until after I said it, it's the week before the Gallows Ferry Stump. So we have an ours on the 5th and theirs on the 12th. But that's great because you get to see both of them. And so, but it's really important to go to theirs and call and ask questions, email them, leave a message for them, and they will try to get back to you. And ones that have websites, they'll put the stands up on stuff. So you can actually go in and read for yourself and follow up with questions and things like that. But it's really important that you understand who they are and where they come from.
Robert, we've run out of time. I wanted to ask you what drives you, what keeps you focused as a chairman of the Horry County Republican Party. There are just a couple of words that really makes you want to get out there and help other candidates.
I have 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and I worry every day about what the world will be like for them tomorrow, and your children and everybody else's. That's the reason I do it.
That's a great word. Stay tuned to more Carolina People, the chairman of the Horry County Republican Party, Robert Rabon, coming up next. How often do we get guests on the show who don't even talk about themselves? Not one chance. Every chance we gave him to talk about himself, he's focused on candidates. He's focused on getting the word out. He's focused on his 4 children, his 4 grandchildren, and 1 on the way. We didn't even have the time to highlight him being broker in charge of Associated Realty, the company co-founded with Don Helms and Liston Barfield. We didn't have a chance to highlight his service on Horry County Council. He didn't even slip in that he's on the board of trustees there at Coastal Carolina University, because his focus is on candidates and getting the word out, whether Democrats or his own party, Republicans. Right here, the opportunity is to get the word out, to support them, to be behind them, and to focus on his children and his grandchildren, and getting the word out and educating the public. HorryCountyRepublicanParty.com, HorryCountyRepublicanParty.com. A lot of great information there. Robert Rabon, doing it every day. Thanks so much for being with us, Robert. Absolutely.